The origins of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Hawkman and Hawkgirl are comic book characters who have been around for over 86 years. And over the course of history, there have been many reboots and rewrites and rebirths and DC crossover events that were supposed to fix things but messed things up instead. And unfortunately, Hawkman and Hawkgirl have usually ended up on the short end of the stick. So today I want to kind of sit down and talk about what I think is currently and the most accurate origins of Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and how this origin is pretty much a one size fits all and answers all the questions, and something that DC should really stick to from here on out. Now, the first origin that came out of Hawkman was in the very first issue of Flash Comics #1, which came out in January of 1940. This featured Carter Hall, who is a research scientist in New York City. He comes across an nth metal knife, which causes him to remember that he is the reincarnation of Prince Khufu of ancient Egypt, and this begins his career as the superhero called Hawkman. And later, Hawkgirl will also remember her former life and join him as Hawkgirl. The first origin was written by Gardner Fox, and then 20 years later, he made a new origin of Hawkman. This time it was Qatar Hall and Shayera Hall, who were police officers on the planet Thanagar. And they came to Earth to capture a Thanagarian criminal. They ended up setting up base on Earth. They became Carter Hall and Shayera Hall curators of the Midway City Museum, and members of the Justice League of America. Now, today's origin that I'm going to talk about, most of it came from the most recent Hawkman series, which was out from 2018 until 2021 cover dates. Here's the first and very last issue of the series. If you have never read this series, I definitely recommend it. It is one of the best Hawkman series ever. It just, even if you don't know much about Hawkman, it's a thoroughly enjoyable and easy to follow story and adventure. And the writer, Robert Venditti, really took Hawkman to places that he had never been before and set up his story very well. So if you've never been able to get a hold of this comic, I hope that you can find it and give it a go. I definitely recommend it. Now, the current Hawkman and Hawkgirl, Hawkwoman characters are the three that you see here. First in the center is Hawkman. He is Carter Hall. He's actually the third version of Carter Hall. He is Dr. Carter Hall, who's the curator of the Midway City Museum. He's a famous archaeologist, and he is the husband of Hawkwoman. He is also currently a member of the Justice Society. To the left, we have Hawkwoman, Shiera Hall. She's actually the second version of this character. She is the Empress and leader of Thanagar. And currently, she is trying to find a new home planet for her Thanagarians because the planet was recently destroyed again. And so currently, Hawkman and Hawkwoman are separated. And then we have on the right Hawk Girl, Kendra Saunders. She is also the second version of this character. She is based in Metropolis, and she is also a member of the Justice Society with Hawkman. Now, Hawkman and Hawkwoman, they are a married couple. They are together and very much in love and partners in everything that they do. Hawkgirl, She is also reincarnated from the past, but she is no longer connected to either one of these characters through reincarnation. And she is more or less, I guess you can say, kind of a platonic brother sister kind of relationship with Hawkman as they work together in the Justice Society. Now, I've divided Hawkman, Hawkgirl, and Hawkwoman's history into six different eras, as you can see here, starting with the Golden Age Hawkman all the way through the most current version. I've written about each era of the Hawkman and Hawkgirl that you see here, and it's posted on my blog, hawkworld.org. If you want to read about it there, you can find it. I also hope to make some videos about these characters individually in the near future. But today I'm going to stick to just the origins. Now, today's origin mostly comes from three issues. The most recent Hawkman series by Robert Venditti, issue number 5, number 7, and number 25 is where I get most of my information from. So first, Hawkman and Hawkgirl's origin is a little different, so let's take a look at Hawkman's origin first. The origin that we're going to talk about today first came out in Hawkman Volume 5, number 7 by Robert Venditti. Now, when Venditti gave us the new origin of Hawkman, he didn't diddle-dally around. I mean, he went all out and gave us the biggest and most, I guess you could say, audacious origin that no one expected to come out. But this ties it all together in such a perfect way that this is the origin that I go by now. So in the issue, we're introduced to this character named Qatar, and he is a winged character. He is the general of a army of winged soldiers called the Deathbringers. And there are thousands of these soldiers, and they also have three gigantic, like mecha robots, and they serve this entity called the Lord of the Void. And what they're doing is they're going from planet to planet, just murdering people and sacrificing these people. And apparently, their life force gives this Lord of the Void the power that and energy that he needs to be able to come into this universe and destroy it. And so, for millions of years, this army led by General Qatar just goes from planet to planet, just killing billions and billions of people. Now, these General Qatar and this army were created by the Lord of the Void for this purpose, so they're completely committed to the cause. However, along the way, at the beginning of the story, Qatar is already starting to doubt what he's doing. I guess you could say he's starting to grow a conscience. And when will the killing end? Why are we doing this? Is this right? And one of the reasons he's doing this is because there's this red haired woman that keeps appearing before him wherever they go and questioning what he's doing. And he starts to question it himself. And finally, he decides that this is wrong. I don't want to do this anymore. And he rebels against the army. And he is able to defeat the army and send them back into the realm where the Lord of the Void is and save the universe. But in the process, he is also mortally wounded and he dies. After he dies, he wakes up, and what's supposed to be, I guess, his judgment. He wakes up in a field of skulls of all the people that he has murdered over the years, and it's just skulls upon skulls as far as you could see. and he's expecting to either be just wiped out of existence or being sent into some version of hell. But this entity that appears before him sees something good in him, and because of the fact that he defeated the Lord of the Void's army and sent them back into the realm, so he decides to give um, Qatar a choice: either be wiped out of existence or enter into a cycle of reincarnation where it is his for atonement. He will save people, as many as he can, life after life, as long as it takes, until his debt is paid, no matter how long it takes. He gives him a choice, and Qatar decides he will go into the cycle of reincarnation and save as many people as he can, and this begins his journey of atonement as Hawkman. Reading this story really kind of made me remember or kind of see the similarities between the Bible story of Lucifer, who is the archangel in heaven. Now, he was created by God to serve God and to lead the hosts of heaven to do what he wants them to do. But slowly, this Lucifer started to develop pride in his heart. Finally, he tried to overthrow God, was unsuccessful, and was thrown out of heaven and became Satan. Now, in an interview, I kind of mentioned this to Robert Venditti that I saw the similarities, and Robert Venditti said this was actually the pitch that he gave DC Comics for an idea for a Hawkman story, kind of like a reverse Lucifer. Qatar would be created to destroy and kill and conquer, but he would slowly become aware that he's doing is wrong, and he would defeat the army of the Lord of the Void and become something else entirely. So I thought that was an interesting similarity, kind of a reverse story of the story of Lucifer. So in issue number one, right off the bat, Hawkman finds an old artifact, and this artifact causes him to suddenly remember past lives that he had completely forgot about. And for the next few issues anyway, it starts his journey on finding out what the truth of his past is and what he truly is, because he does not remember his past life as the General Qatar of the Deathbringers. So Brian Hitch drew up this picture of all these different lives that he's led over the probably millions of years, and all the lives that he's saved, and but he doesn't know that he's actually doing that yet. So his journey begins. And finally, he discovers his true origin. He realizes what he really is, and the Deathbringers return and come to Earth to kill who they call the Great Betrayer. And it's pretty much just one Hawkman against this huge army and mecha robots, and it looks all is lost when suddenly, out of his life force comes all his past lives into the present day to fight the army. And they're successful in defeating them and destroying the army for good. It is an absolutely amazing story. So if you've never had the chance to read this, I definitely recommend it. So this is the story of the first origin of Hawkman. Now let's take a look at Hawkgirl's story, which is a little different from Hawkman. So we'll go back to Hawkman Volume 5, Number 7, where I was talking about this red haired woman who was appearing in front of Qatar, and slowly her presence, her questions to him, slowly broke down his will to continue, and he realized that what he was doing was wrong. So he is successfully able to overthrow the Deathbringers and throw them into another realm, but he's mortally wounded. As he lays dying, she appears again and takes his hand, and he dies. Well, after his judgment and after he um, chooses reincarnation, then we get her story. Now, Hawkgirl didn't appear in the first few issues of Hawkman Volume 5. Robert Venditti wanted to use her from the beginning, but DC Comics wanted to use her in the Justice League stories for a while. So Robert Venditti wasn't able to introduce her until about issue number 19 of the series. But we eventually find out about her origin as well. And her name is Shura. I think that's how you pronounce it. And actually, she is this herald angel of this entity that put Qatar into the reincarnation cycle. Well, this god knew of what the Lord of the Void was doing, but it had no interest in saving the people of this universe, so it was just standing back and see what would happen. And he had told his angels not to interfere. Well, this Shura had noticed General Qatar, and she noticed something good in him. And slowly she saw that he was starting to question what he was doing. So she appeared before him and was talking to him and slowly helped him be able to overthrow the Deathbringers. And this displeased her god, so he stripped her of her herald's position. She was no longer an angel, and she would be thrown into the reincarnation cycle with General Qatar. And this became her journey as Hawk Girl. But she vows that she will help Qatar atone for his sins and that she will stand in front of her God once again, no matter how long it takes. Later on, a couple issues later, she touches a relic of the Lord of the Void, and this brings her memories back all her lives as different versions of Hawk Girl and Hawkwoman. And another fantastic double spread that came out in the series. So that's the origins of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. But I'm sure you still have questions. But how does it all work? How does it all come together? There are still different Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Hawkwomans flying around. So why are there so many versions? Well, I've taken clues from the different comics from Gardner Fox, Robert Venditti, and different writers that they've given us over the years, and I've basically come up with three concepts that I think, when applied to Hawkman, can explain everything that has happened along the course of his history. Now, the three concepts are about time, memory, and parallel lives. Number one is called the ocean theory. Number two is called twin flames, which is in regards to reincarnation. And then number three is memory triggers. So I want to talk real quickly about these three things. First, the ocean theory. Okay, so you see a picture of a huge surface of the ocean, and there are ripples in the water. Some of the ripples are starting to overlap, and it's an interesting theory that Robert Venditti comes up with. So in Hawkman Volume 5, Number 5, Carter Hall goes into the microverse looking for more clues, and he runs into his old pal, Ray Palmer, the Atom. And Ray Palmer is going to help Hawkman kind of solve some of the mystery of his past, and they're talking about time. And first, Ray Palmer explains the theory called the river theory of time, where basically time is like a river, always flowing in one direction from the past to the present and into the future. And you can't go back, you can only go forward, and that's that. But then he also discusses another theory of time called the ocean theory. And what it basically is time is like the surface of an ocean, and each life is like one drop or a ripple in the water on the surface, going into all directions. And they all exist at the same time, which makes it possible for you to go into the past or into the future if you have the means to do so. That's why Hawkman has been able to jump around into the past and meeting his past selves. The next concept I want to talk about is parallel lives. And we've seen this happen in Hawkman's history quite a few times, actually, where there are two different Hawkman in the same issue. It happened a few times in the Justice League, Justice Society crossovers back in the 60s and 70s. Here, Justice League of America, issue number 71, we have two Hawkmen on the cover. So, how could they be in the same place at the same time? And then there are other instances, for example, Hawkman Volume 3, Number 11, that came out in 1994. In this issue, there was the Golden Age, Carter Hall, and the Modern Ages, Hawkworld's Qatar Hall. And they would run into each other a few times until they merged in the Zero Hour Crisis in Time event. So there are two different versions, sometimes even more, of Hawkman running around. And so how is this explained? Well, since reincarnation has been such a big part of Hawkman's history, over the years I've kind of went into it a little bit, trying to read up on how reincarnation is believed to happen. I'm not a believer in reincarnation, comics is comics, but there are many people who believe in this. And there is a concept called twin flames. And what it is there is a central life force, there's a higher force that is you. And there are times when you're reincarnated for reasons that you're split into two different entities. And these entities will live separate lives in separate places. And sometimes they will finally be reunited, or they may not be reunited at all until death. But there is this concept in the teachings about reincarnation. I thought this concept was really interesting, and it really kind of applies to Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Now, I'm no authority on reincarnation. I mean, I'm not even chipping on the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I'm on a ship and I can think I can see an iceberg way up ahead. That's where I am. And I'm nowhere near authority on this. But diving into the different ideas and teachings, when I came across this theory, I thought that was really interesting. And maybe since reincarnation is a part of Hawkman, that this could apply. And then the third is called memory triggers. Maybe you've forgotten something. I think this is used for amnesia patients as well, like a place or an item or a person or a smell or anything, something that triggers a person to remember things. And we've seen this happen quite a few times actually in Hawkman's history. In the very first issue about Hawkman, Carter Hall, he receives a package from his friend in Egypt. He opens it up, and it's an nth metal knife. And when he comes in contact with this knife, immediately he starts to feel sleepy. He falls asleep, and he dreams of his former life as Prince Khufu. So this was a memory trigger. In the most recent series, in Hawkman Volume 5, number 2, issue number 2, Hawkman goes to the British Museum in London, and when he comes to close contact with a scepter, which is a kind of an Egyptian rod with symbols on it with an animal head, kind of like a cane. When he comes into contact with that, suddenly he's transported to ancient Egypt, where he runs into his old self, Prince Khufu. So that worked there as well. It came up quite a few times during the most recent Hawkman series. In issue number 4, he's transported to the past to Hawkworld, Thanagar, and he runs into Qatar Hall. In issue number 8, he goes to the ruins of Krypton, and when he reaches there, he's transported back in time to when Krypton is about to destruct, and he runs into his old self, Qatar All. That was a very interesting character. And then in issue number 13, he goes to a planet called Nebula, and going there, he remembers his past lives as a soldier, and actually he lived 11 lives on this planet until he was finally able to stop the war between two different planets. So in Hawkman's history, this memory triggers have a huge part, and this would explain how he remembers things. So I've kind of explained the origin today of Hawkman and different concepts to what I think makes Hawkman work. Uh, but for me, Hawkman is Hawkman. It doesn't matter if it's Silver Age, Golden Age, Bronze Age, the current version, whatever. Hawkman has a different, distinct quality and look, image about him. He's has wings, he can fly, he has super strength, he has his nth metal mace, he recuperates very quickly. He has a partner, Hawkwoman. He goes through reincarnation. He's into history. In one issue of Hawkman Volume 5, he was called the living document of the universe. And he's just an interesting character with so much background and history and so much potential. So whenever I see Hawkman, I don't think, oh, which Hawkman is this? You know, it's like, oh, there's Hawkman. For me, just Hawkman is Hawkman. Hawkgirl is Hawkgirl. And it's not, maybe it's confusing for people who really want to know which version it is, but to me, it's not that important. The all of them come from the same character. They have the same origin, and they have maybe different stories, different planets, and everything, different, maybe even characteristics, but they all come from Hawkman. And that's what one of the things that makes this character so great. But anyway, thanks for listening. I hope all my jabbering makes sense. I tried to explain the origin of Hawkman and Hawkgirl as simply as I could. Again, like I said before, I've written my extensive history of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. I posted it on my blog, hawkworld.org, if you want to come by and take a look. Eventually, I hope to make some videos about each eras and explain Hawkman and Hawkwoman a little bit more. But thanks for listening. If you have any comments or questions about Hawkman and Hawkgirl, feel free to put them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer or put them in a video later on down the line. But thanks a lot. Keep soaring. Have a great day. Bye.